Welcome to a new episode of our monthly briefing, Eye on the Maghreb with Hafed Al-Ghwell. Hafed is a distinguished senior fellow at the Johns Hopkins Foreign Policy Institute and the executive director of the North Africa Initiative. As an expert on the Middle East and the North Africa region, he will provide valuable insight into the pressing issues facing the First, Hafez, I would like to talk about the impact of the recent U.S. presidential election on North Africa. How will the U.S. policy shift?
Of course, the U.S. election is extremely important, not just for North Africa, but globally. I mean, this is a major change in U.S. outlook and approach to the world in general. There can't be bigger difference that you can think of between President Biden and Vice President Harris, and of course, President Trump. They come at international relations from completely different perspectives. That's going to impact U.S. engagement globally. In North Africa, there are a number of very key areas that the U.S. is engaged in. You have Morocco and how President Trump in his last tenure as president recognized for the first time in decades the sovereignty of Morocco on the Sahara part in the south, which is still being disputed, and the UN still consider it to be still a disputed land, but the United States during Trump recognized it. That triggered a couple of other countries to recognize the sovereignty of Morocco, Spain, and then lately France. That has implications on the relationship with Algeria, the relationship globally. Then you have the other issue that is consuming in North Africa, and that is Libya's civil war and continuing civil war, which does not seem to end, and how Mr. Trump is going to engage with that file again. In 2019, unfortunately, he made a very bad call by trying to align or to support a warlord, General Haftar, who failed miserably to actually take power across the country. Now I think President Trump needs to approach it from a whole different perspective. Then you have also the authoritarianism that is emerging and growing in North Africa. We've seen it in elections in Algeria, in Tunisia, in Egypt, where presidents have basically won their seats again by margins of 90% or so or higher, which is really quite this not credible kind of result. So a lot of these issues, the significance that we need to keep in mind is how all of these issues are going to impact the Mediterranean, Southern Europe, and Africa, especially as China seems to be encroaching further and further in North Africa.
Thank you, Hafez. You touched on France's backing on Morocco's sovereignty over the Western Sahara. What do you think the implications, the political implications are of this backing and support in relation to Algeria in specific?
That's a big question. And this Sahara question has been going on for decades. It has basically spoiled the entire geopolitical and even economic environment in the whole region. Basically, to just put it in a nutshell, Morocco sees the Sahara part of it, which is in the south, as a part of its territory. There is a rebellion going on, an organization called Polisario that's trying to gain independence for its part. Algeria is supportive of the Polisario and sees Sahara as an independent state. The UN is trying to figure out how to settle this issue for decades. They have appointed envoys. Even the US has appointed a number of envoys on this issue. Then Mr. Trump came in 2016, during that period, 2016, 2020, and recognized for the first time the sovereignty of Morocco. That, of course, did not sit well with Algeria, which sees this as a major strategic issue for itself. After that, Spain also recognized Morocco, and that Spain and Morocco are very close, and there is a lot of economic interest there, that's what triggered the Spanish recognition. Then, a few months ago, Macron in France, for the first time, also recognized the sovereignty of Morocco. Of course, that blew up the whole situation because there is also a lot of ties, historical and so on, with Algeria. Algeria immediately recalled its ambassador from Paris, cut off the relationship with Morocco, opened a lot to China. Algeria and China had a historic relationship, but now Algeria is opening a lot of opportunities for China in North Africa. So this, in a nutshell, is the complexity of this issue. There is a lot of economic involvement here. There is oil, gas from Algeria's side. There is phosphate in Morocco. So it's a complex issue, and we'll see how Trump is going to deal with it or just ignore it. I mean, the issue with Trump that we all need to remember is his politics is really very personal. It's, as the Economist magazine called it, it depends on who's the last person who talked to him. So he makes decision in a very personal way. So it's very hard to predict how the US will react under it.
Thank you very much, Hafed. We look forward to seeing you again next month on Eye on the Maghreb and explore more about the